You're the senior medical director at WebMD, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So in other words, folks, she knows what she's talking about. And she is going to help us on this journey. So I want to talk about anxiety and depression, and would love your guidance on this. But I'd like to kind of take it from a couple angles, and then of course wherever you'd like to take it. I'd like to take it from the angle of us as our individuals. What are some signs we can recognize in ourselves, and what are some things we can do to either prevent it or treat it, or at least take care of ourselves. And then also for those of us that are leading others, leading groups of teams and people, what are some signs that we should be on the lookout for those team members that we want to care for as well? So I'll kind of open it with that. When you think about anxiety and depression, I would love to get your thoughts on kind of what you're seeing out there today, and what are some things that we can start to think about?
Well, certainly feeling anxious is on the rise. It's something that's more and more prevalent in our society when you look at measurements done over time. The American Psychiatry Association, they do a survey yearly, and even between 2017 and 2018, they saw respondents were saying they were more anxious than they were in the year before. So it's pretty interesting how it's happening.
Wow, that's not good news.
No, it's not. It's not good news. There's a lot that can be done about it, though, so that's positive. But yes, in 2017, about 20% of Americans had some sort of anxiety disorder, and that includes generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, social anxiety disorder, panic attacks, I said, and social phobias. And then about 7% of the population had a major depressive episode.
Wow.
And so it's significant. It means that people that we're walking around talking to at work, in the neighborhood, our own family are experiencing this.
Yeah, and so you said 20% have some anxiety-related disorder, which I'm just to make sure I'm clear, that's diagnosed. That doesn't count the folks that maybe aren't diagnosed or aren't reporting it.
Exactly. It's not including that spectrum of feeling anxious, which can be appropriate and a normal part of our lives.
Well, I don't know which spectrum I fall in, but I'm raising my hand on this one, because I often wake up and I'll say, okay, Brandon, how do you feel today? How's your anxiety today on a scale of 1 to 10? And I know if I'm operating below a 5, I'm okay. Doesn't feel good, but I can function. When I get closer to like a 7 or an 8, I need to start re-examining my calendar, because it's just not going to play well for me.
And it's good. You're self-aware, so I think putting it on a scale is perfect. For some people, one of the questions that's great to ask is, do you feel like you're excessively worrying about something minor? And I remember in the past just cooking dinner and one day stressing out over whether I was going to, do chicken, beans, or beef for my, protein for the family. So that's sort of excessive worrying about something that's pretty minor. So that's a good way for people to take a look at what they're worrying about and kind of test themselves to see, is it really appropriate?
Yeah. And on the almost the flip side, the worst for me is when I get generalized anxiety. So I'm anxious, but I have no reason why. I don't know why. Like, I can't pin it to anything. That's the worst.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there saying, I've got no reason to be anxious. I have a light day. There's nothing really going on. But I can almost feel like my skin's crawling.
I mean, it's interesting because so many people aren't able to kind of articulate that and realize that. And then the next step is actually, even if you recognize it, doing something about it. So we know with people that have depression, in 2017, 35% didn't get any treatment at all. And there's repercussions of untreated depression. It's beyond just feeling sad. It impacts the rest of your life.
Yeah, say more about that. So what are some other ways that can impact us if we don't seek treatment or get some kind of help?
Right. So with depression, it impacts your physical body immediately. So many people will either have a change in appetite where they're eating more or less. Their sleep is impacted, sleeping more or less. energy is impacted, getting either agitated and nervous and irritable, or maybe they're feeling sluggish. Overall, everybody feels fatigued. All of these are the immediate impact. But then long term, we know that depression often coexists with another illness. So in terms of psychiatric illnesses, it can exist with anxiety disorders, obsessive compulsive disorder, PTSD, substance abuse disorder, and with medical conditions, it can exist with diabetes and heart disease. And fortunately, people who have depression and then have another illness, their prognosis is actually much poorer. In fact, they're twice as likely to die, actually, from untreated illnesses, because with the depression, you're not as well capable of taking care of the other medical or psychiatric condition, and then the other condition makes the depression worse. Similar things happen with anxiety disorders. There's a restlessness that can come with it, and muscle tension. People often talk about not being able to sleep properly, which is a vicious cycle in of itself. They'll feel fatigued, and pain becomes a big part of anxiety, where people will complain of headaches or stomach aches, pain in the shoulders and back. So it is truly impacts the entire life, and then it impacts everybody around them as well.
Yeah. I had no idea depression was such a nasty co-pilot. I didn't know that. It's like that horrible rowdy friend that sits next to you while you're driving the car and keeps trying to grab the steering wheel. That sounds like that's depression.